Hey everybody, welcome to the TEConnect Podcast. I'm John Martin.
And I'm Dean Reverman.
Dean, the world runs on software.
Yes, it does.
I know that can be a little hard to admit for us as a hardware
distributor. Folks, I don't know. We lean into software all the time, right?
That's true. Our vendor partners, are, they make amazing hardware, but they understand the importance of software too.
I often say it's all a doorstop unless there's good software on it.
Right.
You need good software.
And many of our VAR partners, obviously, they may have got their business started on hardware, but for the most part, they understand software is pretty key. But for those that don't, though, we're going to dive a little bit into a deeper conversation about what software can mean to your business, your solutions, why it should be a core part of things, even if you don't directly sell it yourself. So this week we have Tyler Young from Tonic joining us. You've probably seen him around the channel ecosphere at some point in the last few years or so. And if you haven't, hey, maybe you get a good introduction to him today. But he's going to help us out with this conversation. We're talking a little bit about some of the challenges of creating software-focused solutions and even software itself.
You mean it's not easy? You just,
it's surprisingly
sit down,
not.
start writing a little code, and
no, I mean, do you think you could do that?
Absolutely not.
I didn't think so. Nor could I. We're going to talk about what makes a good partner to an ISV. Tonic's been out there partnering up within the channel and give you an idea of what you need to be doing to be a good partner for an ISV that wants to work with you.
And then
we're going to talk about some of the best practices that Tyler has for competitive markets, how to go out and win business, in particular restaurants and hospitality where he plays.
Nice.
We got some good stuff there. And you'll get to learn a little bit about Tonic POS and some of the cool stuff that they have done.
I like it. Good folks over there.
That's right.
For sure.
So all that plus our usual value, what's tech connecting with us? It's time to plug in and get connected.
Welcome to the TEConnect Podcast. It's time to get connected.
All right, as I mentioned, our guest today is Tyler Young. He is the CEO of Tonic. Tyler, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you on. We were talking beforehand that you're a busy guy, and I think we're even lucky that we managed to get your attention to get you on the show because you're just all over the place doing a lot of amazing stuff. So thanks for joining us today. Tell us a little about your background. Like, how did you, to get where you are, how did you get into this software business and into our channel?
John and Dean, first, I want to thank you guys for inviting me onto the show. My first experience seeing you guys in action was at VARTech last year, and I was completely nervous going onto the stage as you guys called me out. I think I was the sixth speaker, and my team did warn me I needed to have a little 90-second pitch prepared, but I was back there coming up with it, thinking I had a little bit more time until they said, "You're up, Tyler."
You're up.
So,
yeah. Awesome.
That's how we work.
Yeah. So going into background. So myself, Tyler Young, I'm the visionary and CEO of VersiTech. We have two brands, Bold Integrated Payments and Tonic Point of Sale. Within the company, we look at those as just two different product lines that we provide to channel partners. At our core, we provide solutions to channel partners. I got into this space when I was young. I always had an entrepreneurial spirit, which I think translates into someone who gets fired for always trying to change and improve wherever they work. I think if you are experiencing that out there, you may be an entrepreneur, because entrepreneurs often just look at what problems they can solve and how things can be better. Within the payment sphere, I got into that space at 19, and by 2017, which, what are those years now? I think I got in 2009 as my own business. And by 2017 is when I decided to get into technology, because payments is a commodity. Technology is a solution. I often provided an incredibly high level of customer service and care, and it bothered me when I would lose a customer. When I got into providing a solution, I became family to my customers and started to see that two-way relationship that I wanted to have, because we were essential to their business, not just I can save money, I can leave. So that's why I decided to get into technology. Little did I know how challenging technology is, but today we have a great product in Tonic Point of Sale, and that's where we're at.
There you go.
There you go. Like it. Now, I will say, Tyler talks about being all nervous and unsure about himself coming out there for our TEConnect Live program at VARTech.
Right. Yeah.
But I will point out that he did such a good job that Tonic won best or the
most innovative
tech award at VARTech last year.
That's right.
So clearly, whatever nerves you had, it was washed away the second you walked out on stage. Because
guys, I'm not gonna. In my head, I was writing like this 90 seconds. I was like, oh, I'll say this. And when I walked away, I was like, I dropped half of it. I only think I went out there for I think I was out there for 50 seconds or something of the 90 seconds we got. And I went into the back like, oh, I missed that. I missed that point. And so pre-writing, something for me just doesn't work really well. Like I'm back there. I'll show you guys sometime. I'm typing it up on my phone, what I should say, right? And I'm putting it together. And then I butchered that part, but I'm glad what I did say was well received.
All good. All good.
Yeah,
yes.
Clearly worked out.
Yes.
Well, so let's get into this conversation about software. And I liked how you approached up front the idea that, the software business is not as easy as people might think it is. I'm assuming most people don't think it's particularly easy, but there's a lot of challenge there. And I want to talk about some of those challenges as it relates to our channel and to our VARs, because I think by now we preach all the time on this show the idea of full solutions, of software being an integral part of any solution that you're selling. And it's the way to win. But there's also still some legacy resellers out there in the world who might just be leading with hardware most of the time. Or hardware was the focus, the core of their business. They don't see any particular need to change that. So talk to us a little bit about those challenges of creating software, the software forward solutions, and for that matter, making that pivot and going from, hey, I know what I'm good at in hardware, but I need to shift over and start partnering up with software providers and going out there and selling full solutions.
It's a topic that's really dear to me because it's kind of part of the passion of why we're choosing to do what we're doing. Traditionally, VARs were able to find a solution, carry the solution, sell the solution, and build relationships with their customers. And their value was in the relationship. Well, today, there's been a transition away from the need for that local relationship. And their restaurants are more empowered by what the solution is. And I'll talk about it. It's like Toast, right? Toast is on the market today. And I'm going to sign up with Toast because it does X, Y, and Z. It's a full solution for my restaurant. And what we're seeing is a lot of business owners are choosing that path, and the resellers are having a hard time finding a solution that they can sell, right? So first, we're going to talk about all the VARs and all my ISOs and agent friends all saying to me, I want to build a software. How to get to where you are. And I think the reason that they are doing that is because they cannot find a software that they can trust to be their solution to go sell into the market. Because time and time again, we see solutions show up. We see somebody purchase that solution, change their direction. And so a lot of VARs are looking for a solution that they can trust. And I think that's the hole Gary and I saw and said, there's a need. That's what we want to fill. So the reason it's dear to my heart and passionate is as an entrepreneur who felt I had an entrepreneurial spirit, but I had no idea what I was going to do with it. Like I didn't know I'd land in payments and POS when I was younger. I see a lot of small businesses that can thrive across the US providing a hospitality solution to restaurants with a high level of service. They just need a software. So let's talk about it. Let's say you want to form a software today. Like I decided I wanted to get into software. Well, there's a lot I didn't know. In order to build a successful product competing with companies like Toast, who have a lot of resources and large development teams, you need to build a products team, a QA teams, a development team. You need to have your solutions architect. You need to have your engineer, your structure. There is so much more to this process than I thought at all. I saw a software working at a restaurant. I talked to the owner. We worked out a deal. And then everyone started asking for feature, functionality. And then I got told, well, we can't do that, or we can do that. And then it took 3 years to get there. So I think if anyone's out there considering getting into tech to own it themselves, I would challenge them to think about if they want to spend every dollar they have, because that's exactly what I've had to do. Gary and I merged to say, okay, we're going to spend everything we have to compete. So I know I jumped around on you guys there, but I think that when it comes to technology, you need to find one that you can work with that is long-term and is all in on their product. And it's taken me time to get there from 2017 to now to say, hey, I'm going to invest. So today we have, I'm proud to say our development team's grown over 300%. It doesn't make us large, but we have over 40 developers now, which is a huge number that I did not anticipate at all back in 2017 that I would need to do that. But in order to compete, that's what we had to do. Now there's a flip side. Guys, I'm taking the mic from you, but the flip side is, are there resellers out there today that are still focused on selling hardware? Yes. We deal with them all the time on the bold side because we get to introduce them to the concept of software is the solution, recurring revenues is the answer. And I think anyone today that's a reseller of a software solution that have not grasped turning it into recurring revenue needs a wake-up call, or they simply need to decide that they want to retire because that's the path that they're on.
So true. So many good takes in there. Let's dive into a couple of them real quick. First off, talking about, hey, if you think you want to start a software company, maybe you want to rethink that a little bit because, that's going to take a little bit more effort. And it's so appealing for resellers to do that. When I put my hat on, when I used to be a reseller, I mean, you think that, your customers are coming to you with asks. You're not finding the right solution out there. Or I'm going to term what Tyler just talked about, ISV churn, right? Meaning like, okay, we pick this software solution and then, oh my gosh, they get sold and now they're rolled up under somebody else and it's completely different and nightmare.
And if you're the entrepreneurial type, you probably have that attitude of, I'm just going to do it myself.
I'm just going to do it myself. Yeah. But it's harder than you think. And to me, which is what Tyler was talking about, to me, I don't know how you can keep up with the advancements that are happening in software because a lot is happening there. And so my question to you, Tyler, when I sit back and think about it, I mean, would it make more sense for a hardware reseller to become knowledgeable about API integration? Let's just focus in on that, right? So that they can connect these dots now between disparate systems, whereas it might be a point of sale system, but, machine vision's coming in or other sensors or other data, AI data that's wanting to be tapped into that. I mean, I think it's a really good take that you got to pause before you want to get into software, but are there aspects of software development that maybe resellers could leverage? I don't know. I know I'm hitting you hard, out of left field with a question there, but I often wonder that. What's your take?
My take is we're already seeing that. A lot of resellers are developing plugins that are add-ons to the software of their choice. Now, some softwares out there, like, a close friend of mine, Jeff Riley, RMH, they're completely open. And a lot of the teams that are under them, the resellers, they have large development teams. I think one of them was telling me he has 8 developers. So they're building the plugins to go on top of the software that's give them a niche to provide a solution that others don't have. I do think if you can work with an organization who would invite you to develop your own product, like we have a reseller today who is adamant he wants to build his own wait list. And we have an open API so we can support him to do so. I do think if a reseller has a clear vision of this solution here will win business and they want to go build that solution, that they should do that with the support of the software and ensure that the software company is going to devote a little technology assistance to ensure that the solution they're building will actually work on the product.
Good stuff there. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can see that, that would be the angle that I would think that I would start getting into the whole developing on top of it, because there is customization that occurs on any type of solution, and having that skill set is relevant. The other take that I wanted to kind of dive into was your your take on relationships, maybe not having as much weight as they used to, and a transition over to solutions. I think that's really interesting. We talk about legacy resellers, and I'm using air quotes, all the time, in the sense that, they're happy with where they're at, or they're just going to ride the wave of the customers that they have, and then they're going to get in retirement mode, whether it's today or 5 years or maybe 10 years down the road, but they're banking on the relationship. But it's an interesting take, Tyler, that you're saying that a lot of the marketplace now not so much heavy on the relationship, more on what is the solution you're providing? What is the business outcome that I'm going to get from your solution? Am I reading you right? Is that what you were saying?
No, you are. I have the data of working with a lot of partners. So I feel like I speak from a wider experience where I am seeing time and time again a partner saying, we lost this site. We've had them for 20 years and they didn't even call me.
Wow.
They just switched. And I've heard that enough times now to know that it's the direction that we never saw coming. A lot of people thought these relationships will outlast any new solution. But the competition has gotten fierce and aggressive. Not only, is Toast able to offer every solution under the sun, it feels like at this point is their goal, but they're also buying business. It's not hard for a site to switch anymore. And therefore, it's disappointing because it feels like a little deja vu for me back to 2017, why I got in point of sale. I wanted to be valued by my customer, and providing them a point of sale got that value and they appreciate it. But now it's marketing, it's payroll, it's every aspect that hospitality is looking for under one roof, and they're moving to that value. What's happening at a lot of these sites is the next generation is coming in. I think we're going to hold on to a lot of our legacy sites where the owner is in retirement. And when I say retirement, I mean you're coasting. You're going to ride this wave all the way to the end, whatever the end looks like. And there are a lot of restaurateurs that are doing that today. And a lot of them are on legacy systems, which allows a traditional legacy mindset to being a VAR to operate well into the future, because that site just won't change. The owner won't change. But when new management comes in, when someone takes over, maybe it be a child or someone they trust, or they sell, at that point, the transition is to what value do you bring my operation? The good news, Dean, is I do predict that this will cycle like everything in life. And that in the next 10 years, the individuals who have focused solely on the software solution will start to value the local support. Because no matter what software you have, equipment fails. And when that equipment fails, it's nice to have someone else handle it when you're dealing with all aspects of running an operation.
Like trying to keep your restaurant open. Yes, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like on a Friday night, the printer goes down and you just got home. Do you want to be the one going back because you're really comfortable with technology and hardware? Or do you want to call somebody who's going to show up? I have this great example. I just got sat down with one of our resellers, Shane, Bay Area POS. And he had this example that internet went down, or they could not. This is the story here. This is great. This showcases true support. The internet company did not get set up, and it's a coastal town. And so it's 5 days before, still no internet. They're going live. They're opening up. What do you do when a site has no ISP at all?
Nightmare.
It's a good question, right?
Yeah. It's a nightmare scenario.
Nightmare scenario. Well, Elon Musk kicks in, right? You can have a Starlink anywhere. You could throw that thing up, mount it on the roof, on your car. And so proud when Shane told this story. He mounted that thing up, had them operational, and they ran credit cards all night. I said, man, did they love you? Did they appreciate you? He said, they didn't even know. It's just what I do.
That's right. Yeah. That's a good one.
So that service, I think, is not as important to the ownership that's coming into the hospitality space, but I think it will cycle back to that value, which is what I believe our future holds. Why Gary and I have invested everything to make Tonic a solution that can compete with Toast, that resellers, it's a pairing, it's them and us that makes this scenario work. And it's us that have the harder task. We have to keep up with the development of companies spending over $70 million in their R&D.
Well, I very much appreciate the idea of, you making an effort to create a software that is trusted, that is going to accomplish what people want it to accomplish, and get them comfortable with, like you put it earlier, the idea of, all right, I don't want to go out there and sign up with an ISV that could be out of business in a few years, or doesn't keep up with new trends and or just doesn't deliver the way I think they're going to deliver. Like, there's obviously a lot of effort you're putting into that to make sure that when they do come to work with you, that they know they're going to get someone who's going to put in the work, is going to make sure that the product is always working at all times and does what they need it to do. But I think that conversation can go both ways, which is, as a channel-focused ISV, I'm sure you guys want to make sure that your reseller partners are going to be good stewards of your product and delivering what is needed to customers, and making sure that the Tonic name is associated with somebody who's doing really good work as well. Yep. So how do you go out there and vet those reseller partners to meet your standards? And then also, what do you think makes a good partner that ISVs are going to want to work with in the future?
Like everything, it's a process to figure out. We've had 2 years on the Tonic side, and we just launched a year ago the actual Tonic product, but we had time to think about it. When finding a partner, we think partners who value impact over profit. And impact over profit means the customer experience, the reputation, how we do the right thing based off the situation for our employees, our customers. What we have ensured is that our partners value the overall experience that we're providing, because the Tonic reputation is very important to us, that we want it to be known as a product that provides a high level of service, not a Clover, which is sold by everybody and anybody. And so we sit down with our potential partners, and it's a two-way interview. By all means, we want every single person selling our system. It would be wonderful. We'd love to be in every store. But we do know if we were to partner with someone who would blast Tonic into 100 sites a month, could cause reputational damage that trickles into affecting us and our other Tonic channel partners. And so it's not just, can you sell our product? Because there's a lot of people that can. It's, how will you sell our product? What is the service level that you provide today? Where are the gaps? And how can we help fill them? So there's a two-way interview with most of our partners. We just don't work with everybody who fills out a form and says, I want to sell your product.
That's interesting. And I think that's a good approach. I think the way I would quantify that is DNA match. Like, is your company matched strategically or, otherwise aligned with the partners that you're trying to go to business with? I mean, these are important decisions to make. It sounds like you're Tyler, your approach is a little bit more what I would call curated, meaning you're not blast. Is it a shotgun where you'll take any reseller anywhere, or you would rather have a much smaller community that is just engaged, knows your product, knows, is willing to go to battle and just aligns with you? A handful of those rather than, thousands of others, right?
Dean, that's exactly the case. That's why Tonic has been a crawl, walk, run. Tonic is not everywhere. We're not saying that it is. What we are saying is we're devoted to building this product. We are investing into this product, and we are going to ensure that it maintains the best reputation that it can with a service level. And trust me, there's times you want to chase the money.
Sure.
Bring me the clients. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. This is the beauty, for those that don't know Tonic, of where Gary and I are at in our season of life. We came together and merged because we saw a need, and we have more reasons to fill it than financial. And therefore, we are here for the long haul. We are here for the long run. We have learned technology. Today, I sit as the head of technology of our company. I'm really excited. I'm putting a job offer out in the next 48 hours to a candidate with a ton of experience, and going to be a game changer for us to even propel further into the future. And we've learned it. Gary's learned it. I've learned it. Our team has grown. Guys, if we look back at it, VersiTech was 16 people in May of 2022. We're over 120 people today. That's a lot of growth. That was a decision made to say, let's go do this. And that's where I say, don't get into software if you're not willing to do that, because it's not like going out there and selling payments or selling POS, either retail or restaurant. It's very, very challenging, but I think it's very fulfilling. I'm sitting here talking to you guys because we're channel focused. That's what you guys provide to a channel, I provide to a channel, and hopefully that channel's listening and aligned with what we're trying to do. And 5 years from now, I'll be very pleased with the outcome if we're the number one sold point of sale by a channel partner relationship.
There you go. I respect that. When you think about it, because we always talk about the reseller and, what kind of ISV you should be looking for, but flip the table like we just did. What the ISV goes through due diligence, or at least I think it's a strong move, Tyler, the way that you're going about it, because they're investing just as much. They need resellers that are going to be up to speed on certifications and understand what the product is, understand how to go to market with it and with all of its features and things of that nature. Ability to handle sales leads, and things of that nature that are going to come through in a respectable way. Respecting the sales cycle and understanding what it is. I mean, there's a lot on the table, right? When you get into these partnerships, and it is a two-way street, which is the way you opened it. It's a conversation. It's a two-way conversation between Tonic and the reseller. That's brilliant. A brilliant way to go about it, because I think that a lot of companies can learn from that. Not just the resellers, but other ISVs. Candidly, we come across ISVs all the time that are like, no, shotgun. We don't want to throw it everywhere. And we think we got our wagon all secure, which they don't. They don't have the training, they don't have the backup, they don't have the support and all this stuff. But we just want to get it out there to everybody and be the next Microsoft to really shoot for the moon, if you will. But that's is that going to really work? That doesn't really work in the channel. When you have the respect and the trust that is garnered and earned over developing business together. So kudos. Yeah, good definitely. Stuff.
Impact.
Yeah, I wanted to see if I had this text here. We had a new partner join recently. And this is what he said. By the way, we're officially Tonic people now. We had our kickoff meeting this week. Very impressed. Y'all are doing things way better than most people out there with VAR success out of the gate. I shouldn't be surprised, but I was. You and Gary have something special going on. That was just Wednesday. And I'll laugh because I'll admit he's gone through an onboarding process that only started 2 months ago. Right. So I'm very pleased. Like, yes, he's happy, but had he started 3 months ago, he may not be saying the same thing, but it's our investment to improvement to say, okay, what's the experience we want to provide? And we have a bold onboarding team. We have a Tonic onboarding team. We've built a large checklist. We treat it like onboarding a new employee, because when you grow as fast as we had with employees, onboarding is an issue. Training is an issue. And so we had to get laser focused on how to improve that in our organization. And then we just said, let's take that same thought process to the onboarding of a partner so that we can be there the same way we would be for a new hire to ensure their success.
Brilliant. Yeah. Take what Tyler just said. If you're an ISV trying to get into this, that is the gospel right there. That's right. Around training and supporting. Kudos to you guys for laser focusing on, because that's what it takes. Yeah. We've seen it time and time again where a software development company will come into the channel and they just don't have that kind of infrastructure, in place to
they've
be able to support.
They've got the great idea.
They got the great idea. They got the code.
They got the entrepreneurial spirit, but
absolutely. But then, day two, what I call day two type of stuff. So okay, we get paper signed, blah, blah, blah. But if you don't have the infrastructure, the support, the training and all that kind of good stuff, it's going to fail. Definitely. It's going to fail. So,
Well, then on that.
A lot of companies feel the pressure before you move on with that, John. A lot of companies feel the pressure when you're shotgunning it out. You got to get sales. You got to get traction. You need to show the traction. You have investors. The good news is Gary and I are investors. So the traction is based on our own judgment. And today, would a private equity, and I'll admit, come in and say, wow, I'm happy with Tonic's progression? They'd say, no, they're not. But Gary and I look at it as we've worked with some really great partners who have helped advise us on all the needs that we have within the system. We have added so many developers, so many resources to knock out any of those requests going into the future. So I'm not here saying, hey, my tech's the best. I'm not saying it's an A or a B. I'm saying my tech is great. It meets the needs 90% of the time that you have, but I'm also doubling down to get it to 99% because you can't meet everybody, as you guys know, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, totally.
And we're not rushing. We're just not rushing. We're here to say we're going to get there. And in 5 years, I'm predicting it. We'll be on this call, hopefully, saying you guys are the number one sold product through channel partners and good channel partners. That's hopefully what we're known for. Good and great channel partners.
No, right. That's good stuff.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
So Tyler, I kind of joked up front that you've made a big splash in recent years and you've been kind of everywhere and are all over the place. But I mean, there is some truth behind that because again, you mentioned you've only been doing this since 2017. And I know 7 years in the world of tech can kind of feel like a lifetime, but in the bigger scheme of things, it's been a pretty rapid rise and you guys have done a lot in that time. And what you just mentioned from that text and what we were just talking about, that clearly you've learned some strategies and some best practices for winning, for retaining business, for developing partnerships.
I love that word, by the way. Yeah. Winning is definitely my word.
There you go. So talk to us more about that. What are some of those best practices, strategies? What kind of things do you think really can go out and especially in a competitive market like restaurants and hospitality, where you are going up against the Toasts and the Clovers and the big dogs of the world, or just the massive plethora of different types of options that are out there? How do you compete with that?
One of my passions statements have been for a long time, help everybody win, right? So when you use winning, we were sitting as a group, as a leadership team, working through our EOS, like, what is your passion? And Ken, someone there said, help everybody win. And Eric was there like, Tyler loves winning. The truth is I like winning and I believe that I've never lost. It's a bold statement. But, losing is, to me, accepting some form of failure. I feel like we're always winning because you're winning through your learning. But most importantly, if you change your frame of mind to take in new circumstance, new data, and change the outcome you were seeking, then you didn't fail. Like, hey, if I was playing in College World Series baseball that I was just watching, and I lost, it's like, hey, I did lose, but I'm not going to carry the loss into my future. I'm going to look at, hey, looking at this data, was there someone sick that day? What happened? There was some circumstance that maybe affected the potential outcome for the day. I'm just going to acknowledge, like, our best player didn't play or he got fouled out, because I was watching that World Series and they had a chance to come in and they had their best hitter. He had 4 home runs through the series. And it was like, oh, he's got 2 batters on base. He hits this and they're tied, right? But he struck out. So in that circumstance, we don't know what was going on in his world at that time to where he struck out. I hope that guy is not carrying the weight of saying I failed in that moment, because he didn't fail. He's learning and he's going to do better. So at Tonic, we have learned a lot. And when I use that word, I mean failed in some other people's terms, a lot. But we learn, we can keep moving forward. And it's the positive attitude. So I'm going to roll that over to your question. How do you compete in a competitive market? I do think it starts with your attitude, your positive approach, because sometimes you can be up against odds where you are just going to lose because the competitor has everything better and easier than you. But it doesn't mean you'll lose the deal, because in the hospitality space, the retail space, how you present, how you carry yourself is important. And you can win out the trust of an owner based on how positive you are and you believe in your own product, your own solution, your ability to meet the needs of that restaurant owner. Because a lot of competition, they do A through Z, but the business owner may only need A, B, C. And if you don't do a good job of figuring out the true important needs, then you're doing it the wrong way. Sit down, figure out what is really important to the customer, and show how you can meet those needs. Because X, Y, and Z may be nice, but it may not be necessary. And if you can pair that with your positive attitude, your belief in your product, I think that wins out business on a one-on-one basis. And when we're talking about VARs and ISVs, we're generally talking about smaller businesses. We're not talking about 1,000 sales reps where this advice really wouldn't matter because they have the best tech or the greatest technology. And so my advice to anybody out there competing today is be positive. Be positive in what you have, what your system is, and listen to the needs and showcase how you provide your solution for those needs. And if you don't have a solution for those needs, then you really need to go figure that out, because it is hard to win any business if you're not actually meeting the needs that they have.
It's a good take. I was on the Tonic website. They have wonderful blog system, and I came across an article that kind of speaks to what Tyler's talking about here, but really in practical sense. So it talks about Tonic's approach to feature development, which can be one of those areas that I think ISVs feel compelled to, somebody just, whatever, DM'd us that we need this feature, and so we got to put it into the production. We got to get it
whether
out.
Whether it makes sense or not, yeah.
Yeah, and so these software companies are always, it's the quantity of amount of features that are pushed out is weighing whether or not they're successful. And this article beautifully points out, hold on, that's not the case. We listen. I'm glad you used the word listen, because that echoes through some of the quotes that were in this particular article. And the quote is, sometimes it's more important for us to just listen. That's how we stay ahead of some of the trends that are happening. So, and the article just goes into how, I guess, Tyler, Tonic's approach towards feature development and the fact that they take a step back and say, rather than push out a quantity of features, what are the impacts that those features are going to have on the end user experience? Is it worth going down this path? I think that kind of logical, deliberate way of approaching software is great. It's a great for resellers to approach their business in the same way, because we can all get caught up in the dizziness of customer needs, or what they think they need, or what they hear on the streets and stuff like that. It's important. And as it relates back to the question, how do you win? You win by listening. You win by having products that meet the customer's needs, not just features you think that are going to be thrown out there and let's see if they stick kind of a thing. Yeah. It's a brilliant approach. It was a great article down on their blog. Yeah,
definitely. Tyler, I like the baseball analogy. That always rings true with me as a big baseball fan. But I think something sometimes people forget about when you think about something like that is, in baseball, for instance, a good player is not someone who hits a home run every time they come up to the plate. That's statistically impossible.
Right.
At these days, league average is, it's not even 1 out of every 4 times you're up at the plate you get it anymore. I mean, it's even less than that probably. It's more like a little over 1 out of 4.5 or so maybe. But so it's not the expectation that you're supposed to get it perfect. You're supposed to get it right. You're supposed to get a big win every single time you go out and do something. And if that is your expectation, it's going to put you behind. If you don't go out and acknowledge hey, you know what? For every few customers that I go and talk to, for even more than that in this business, I'm going to lose most of that business. I'm going to get the door closed in my face. I'm going to have someone say, nope, sorry, we're fine with what we have. We're good with it. We don't need you. And I think the sooner you accept and understand that that's a part of the business and a part of what you're going to have to deal with, the better, because then it helps you understand hey, when I do get those wins, when I do get that hit, when I do hit that home run, it's that much more meaningful. It's mattering that much more to me in my business. And it also means that I'm still putting in the right amount of work to get that achievement. It doesn't mean you don't go for the home run. There's plenty of guys that go up there and swing for the fences every time. But there's also value in getting a base hit. There's value in taking a walk. There's value in a sacrifice fly. I'm done with my baseball analogy.
The game within the game.
There's a lot of little stuff that you can do to get you there.
Right.
And I appreciate that mentality and that attitude. And I especially appreciate you said help everybody win, because I think I feel like it's a philosophy we here at BlueStar kind of have adopted too, of it's not just about us, sure, we want to move as much hardware out of the building as quickly as we can. That's our end goal, I guess. Yeah. But it does us no good if what we're doing is not helping our VAR partners, is not helping our ISV partners, is not helping our vendor partners, is not helping those end users who are getting that product. If they're winning, we're all winning at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So
it's a great philosophy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, you guys positioned yourself really well to be that. When you are just a supplier or a manufacturer, you are trying to help everyone win, the end users, the resellers. And so it's such a unique business model that you have, which is great that you can do that, because there are some business models that you just can't, right? If you choose, we'll just use Toast as our example, they're not there to help everybody win. They're there to help their end users win. where when you work with channel partners or you guys are distribution, you actually want to make an impact in all of your distribution, everyone in the life cycle of your distribution. And it's just a choice, I think, to who we are as people and what's important to us. I know that I want to help everybody win. And it's a wide net, and I do a lot of things, and it's more than I could get done in a day. But I don't want to own a product that has got 500 employees and 30,000 customers. I want to own a product that has 150 entrepreneur resellers that all have between 1 to 50 employees themselves, right? Because the impact over profit is very, very different. So for me, I learned I need to be in this space because when I was in credit cards, did I have a call center with 20 people where we power dial in for customers? Yeah, that didn't work for me. Matter of fact, I ended up hiring somebody else to say, hey, you handle this. And then when we parted ways, I just shut that whole side down because it just didn't speak to who I was as a person. So I think both of you are working for a company that speaks to who you are. And I know talking with Michelle, that BlueStar's just done a great job ensuring that the culture followed with Steve is just something that I would agree we are emulating here at Tonic. And we are looking for people that value that. Like you guys wouldn't go work for a company that was all for their own profits.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Definitely.
Yep.
All right. Well, hey, in a moment, we're going to let Tyler talk a little bit more about Tonic POS and how I can help you go out and win some business and what to expect working with them. But first, as always, I want to thank...
I think I already did that.
I think so. We'll let you elaborate a little bit more. So
I think I did. Unintentionally, but I think we covered a lot of that.
Exactly. But hey, as always, thanks so much to our sponsors here on the podcast. We appreciate their support of us and our TEConnect program, which can bring in fine folks like Tonic and other ISVs to help you go out and win some business.
Yep.
As always, if you like the show, you got to let us know in some way or another. Leave us a rating and review. Like an episode on YouTube. Leave a comment. Subscribe. Send it to someone else. Get the word out as much as you can and let some other folks, get clued in on what the kind of stuff we're doing here.
Do it right now. It's so easy.
It really is.
It's so easy.
Just a couple moments of your time. I mean, seriously. And hey, as always, of course, if you like the show or you've got ideas that you want to hear about, if you're like, hey, Tyler said something really cool, I'd like to go down that rabbit hole a little further. Maybe we bring him back on or find someone else that can chat about that. Or if there's something we're just not talking enough about that you want to hear more about, you got to send those ideas into us.
That's right.
A couple ways you can do that. One, you can always find us on the BlueStar LinkedIn page. There's always a link in the show notes where you can drop ideas for the podcast. We'll even send you a t-shirt just for sending it.
Who doesn't need a new t-shirt for the summer? Come on now.
Seriously. I've got two drawers full of t-shirts and I still
need a new t-shirt.
more. Yeah, whenever I can. But of course, you can also email us at any time, techconnect@bluestarinc.com. All right, let's wrap things up here. First of all, with a little value to the VAR.
Yes.
Again, Tyler, you have pitched the benefits of Tonic POS, I think, quite all throughout this, but let's maybe streamline that a little bit. And what do you think really differentiates you from other offerings? And more importantly, if a VAR does decide, hey, I want to work with Tonic, what can they expect to get out of that? How are you going to help them get to the next level?
I just want to say it was not my intention to pitch the benefits of Tonic through the conversation, but the conversation itself is just my belief in what things are today and the reality of being a reseller. And it's how I see it, which has led to why we built Tonic and why we have Bold. It's just our true belief. We're here to serve. And therefore, if anyone works with Tonic, they're going to find that everyone in our organization is here to serve the betterment of our partners and their success. I am not going to say that I have the best tech because I don't. But what I do have is the best team to support a good technology. And it's the same that a lot of resellers for years have had when going out into the market, because you may not have been a Micros dealer, but you had a Loa. Well, which one was better? I'll leave to other people to argue. But for a while, maybe it was Micros. So ultimately, I think what someone can expect to work with Tonic or Bold is just to have a team in your corner who wants to help you be successful, who's accepted that we don't need to be the face of an organization, who actually wants to empower other business owners to build their own business. I say it's my team all the time. We're the vehicle for others to be successful in, because In hospitality, you used to be able to write your own software and go out there and sell it. Today, you're competing with some highly funded ventures that are going above and beyond with new feature sets. It's going to be hard to compete with them. I feel that pressure. My team feels that pressure. And we're taking it on. Going to go straight through it and grab as many people who just want to be able to go to their local neighborhoods and areas they live or expanded areas and say, hey, I want to sell a product. I want to provide a high level of service, and I want my customers to love me in return. We're creating that environment.
Nice. Good stuff.
I dig it. Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
All right. Well, hey, let's wrap up as always with our favorite segment, What's Tech Connecting with You? This is where we get to talk about anything in the world of innovation, science, technology, business, just whatever it is that's
or otherwise,
whatever we feel like chatting about.
Right.
So, Tyler, what's Tech Connecting with you right now?
A few things. First of all, I'm going to give a shout out to Sonos. These are the Sonos headphones that I'm using right now. I'm going to admit that these don't work well when talking generally. I have a mic here, but I love Sonos. If you haven't looked at that technology, I think I have 20 in my house, and I absolutely love blaring them and dancing with my kids all the time. My high energy at the trade show is the same energy all the time, and I like my Sonos equipment. What also is connecting with me is just following along with the Boston Robotics and what they're doing with their dog that the military is using, as well as how they can build a robot that has balance. You know, it's just hard to grasp that these robotics are able to do gymnastics. They're able to dance and not fall over. You know, that is really intriguing to me. And then I think the combination of AI with these physical robots is interesting, and I'm keeping my eye on that. Not sure where that's going to go.
Air quotes interesting.
We all are keeping our eye on that, yes.
Yeah, that's something with with that kind of physical capability and now an AI, that's something that I'm interested in following. But not being a technologist myself, but being surrounded by some incredible people here at Tonic. I get engaged in conversations I don't think I'd ever get into. And the one that intrigued me the most is power source. You know, you get into the room with these big brains and what is on their mind is incredible. So I have been learning about fusion power and how that is our future. And it's basically, it's two atoms coming together and replicating the power of the sun. And that has been a topic of discussion that I've been having with a lot of those in my technology department. It's very interesting. Are you familiar with it?
Game changing if we can figure it out. I don't know that we figured it out on the small scale that you can do power generation, you know, like a little mini power plant. But if we, because I've talked about it a couple of times, I think we're getting closer and closer. But if we can hit that nirvana, it would be game changing because it would be endless, ubiquitous power in essence, right? Am I right? Not to make the bold claims, Tyler, but I think that's what they're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was getting. And within my team, they have made the bold claim. I don't want to take it, but I have been told by a couple people I hold in high regard that we will see fusion power in action in our lifetime.
That would be awesome.
That'd be impressive.
That would be absolutely game changing. It really would. Yeah. I mean, it's clean. It's everything that we want power to be, you know, in a sense. And it just keeps going. So I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Because we're going to need more power, right?
Yes, we are.
You know, power's not, our power consumption just doesn't go down.
No, and not so much.
Yeah.
All right, Dean, what's TEConnect with you right now?
That's good stuff. Okay, well, I'm a drummer. And you talk about game-changing stuff. Marco alluded or tapped me into the fact that a few months ago, I think it was a few months ago, right, Marco, that Zildjian released their Alchemy electronic drum set. Now, I know that to the non-drummers in the world, this is like a yawn, but I'm telling you, this is huge in the sense. Let me tell you about my journey as a drummer. I started in the 1980s. What happened in the 1980s? Drum machines became ubiquitous. Right. So it was like this constant, oh, no, drummers are worth it. No, I got this machine over here that does exactly what you do. Yeah. And it can do it in better time than you can do. And all that good stuff. So I'm like, no, you know, drummers are artists and there's nuance and there's feel and all that kind of good stuff, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, electric drum sets started coming out. wonderful. But what they are literally like bricks covered in rubber. So when you're a musician, when you're a drummer, they have zero nuance. It's just like hitting a hammer on a nail. And that is drum. That's not drumming, but that's what the first electronic drum sets were. Then in the late 90s, Roland came out with what is called the V drum, which was game changing for the drum itself, right? So they had these Kevlar heads to them, and it had the feel of a drum set. And so drummers were really excited. Expensive as hell. Yes, if you could get your hands on one to even try it, it was like, this is game changing. This is what drums are supposed to be. Well, Zildjian now, so I'm sorry, but on those old drum sets, when you hit the cymbals, it's like hitting, again, a plastic covered brick. So it's not what you would want it to. So the Nirvana was always, my God, if we could just get the cymbals to do what they need to be. Well, Zildjian, who is the 400-year-old cymbal maker, finally came out with the game-changing cymbal technology that makes it actually is a cymbal, but it feels, I haven't played it yet, but from what I hear, it looks and feels just like a cymbal. So now you finally have the Nirvana of playing an electronic drum set that is pure and it feels like a drum set. So very exciting stuff out there. Marco, where's the nearest set? You said it was like just a few miles away from here. All right, that's what we're doing after this podcast. We're going to go play that drum set.
We got another podcast to do first, and then you guys can go. So
anyway.
Yeah, it's a Friday, right, guys?
Yeah, it's a Friday.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. It's a day before a holiday for us. Yeah.
So Alchemy electronic drums from Zildjian. That's mine. What's yours, my man?
All right. I'm gonna. This is one of those times I'm like, I don't have a good tech, related thing. So I'm gonna give another streaming television recommendation.
Ooh, we like
which is the new season of The Bear.
Yes.
Tyler, are you a fan of this show? I mean, it's a restaurant industry thing.
I have not seen this show.
Oh, you need to see The Bear.
Cannot recommend The Bear enough. A new season just dropped. They dropped every episode on Hulu for season 3 that just came out. I believe it was just last week, actually, as we're recording this.
Did you binge it?
Not all of it yet. I'm about halfway through. But
wow.
Just like the first 2 seasons, it is still an absolutely amazing show.
Is it?
It can be a little stressful at times because it's about the high pressure world of the behind the scenes of working in a kitchen and trying to operate a high quality restaurant.
Yep.
If you're not familiar with the show, the simple premise is that Jeremy Allen White plays a character whose nickname is the Bear, who was went off to become a world class chef in 4-star restaurants or whatever.
World class.
Yes. And after his brother, who was running the family beef shop back in Chicago, kills himself, he comes back to take over the shop and decides to finally pursue his dream of opening up a classy restaurant of his own in that space. He brings in an interesting crew to start working with him, and it's a very acting focused show. It's a very character driven show. The first season, if you do decide to watch it, the first season feels not muddled because I think it's still really good stuff, but you're kind of watching it I don't know where this is going.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
needs a little bit of development.
Yeah, what we're trying to get to yet.
Yeah, you're getting the characters. You're getting to know the characters.
And then there's a pivot point at the end of the first season that leads you into where the story is clearly meant to go. And the second season just blows up from there. It was just
awesome.
An amazing run of just really high quality episodes, some great acting. Everybody gets a little moment of focus in the show, and they're kind of an episode to themselves. And it has very much gone the same way here in season 3.
There you go.
Up the stakes a little bit, but it's still just character focused, sometimes a little stressful, also kind of comedic. It's kind of marketed as a comedy of sorts, and some of the dialogue has a lot of fun goofiness to it.
Yeah.
Now, have you
Pretty
watched
raunchy.
any of this at all?
No, I haven't seen 3 yet. Any of 3.
Oh, but you've seen the first 2.
I've seen the first 2, yeah.
So I didn't know this, but I just found out that the guy who plays the goofy handyman character is always helping him out.
Yeah.
He is actually the chef consultant on the show.
Get out of town.
He is a professional chef himself. And they brought him in to be the consultant, and they asked him, do you want a speaking part? Do you want to be on the show? And he's like, yes, but I don't want to be a chef on the show. I don't want to be doing that. I don't want the pressure.
He's the guy who keeps flubbing the air conditioning. And
so instead, he plays kind of a fun goofball character.
I love it.
Highly recommended. It's a great, wonderful show.
Nice.
So there's 3 seasons on Hulu. I think they're 10 episodes each. Easy to binge. Great music in the show, too. And it definitely makes use of Chicago as kind of a place that's almost a character in and of itself, too. So,
which it is, yes.
Good stuff. Recommend it. So check it out if you get a chance. All right.
Hey, John, I would like to add where you were going there, if I may, because I have not seen this show, but I like what you said, that they brought in a consultant who ended up landing a job on the show. And for many reasons, that speaks to me. I won't get into here. But what I love that speaks to is the power of networking and putting yourself in a place to find success. He didn't go there thinking I'm going to become an actor, but he became one. And we don't go to trade shows knowing always what the outcome will be, but something special can happen. So I want to take a moment to shout out that I am a little bit all over the place, but I'm just trying to network, trying to have new experiences, and where they lead is incredible. So I'd encourage everyone to just put yourself in place for the unknown and be open to that opportunity, like this chef becoming an actor.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
There you go.
Good philosophy. Yep.
Great advice from Mr. Tyler Young from Tonic. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thanks, Tyler.
Appreciate having you. Unfortunately, it's time for us to unplug for today, but, until next time, go out and check out some really cool electronic drums.
Yes.
Watch the bear. Keep an eye on what's happening over at Boston Robotics. And hey, next week, it's our 200th episode. 200 episodes of this show.
There you go.
And we're celebrating with another round of tech trivia, the battle of the generations.
Nice.
So, everybody,
bring it.
Stay connected. TEConnect Podcast is brought to you by ELO and their new Quick Ship program.
Nice.
Expediting deliveries. Expediting? Maybe they expedite as well. I don't know. But
You're making up words.
We're going to say that they're
making up words over there.
Okay, anyway, it's the Quick Ship program. They're expediting deliveries of select Intel-based, all-in-one touchscreen computers. The Quick Ship initiative promises readily available inventory of ELO POS and iSeries 2 models with various processors, memory, and storage options. Additionally, they include Celeron models in the program at reduced prices. Now, ELO will ship these applicable SKUs to BlueStar within 10 business days.
Whoa.
Check out the link in the show notes for you to get a list of eligible products. The Quick Ship program is limited to North America and Latin America in quantities of 20 units or less. Contact the BlueStar ELO team with any questions.